change it to your intro in three, two, one, go.
Welcome to Diva's Two Cents, where we take complicated matters every single week and we bring them to the masses. I break them down for you. For the past couple of weeks, all I've been talking about has been building generational wealth, taking the money that you're paying the IRS and putting it back into your pockets one way or the other, whether it's through investments or whether it's through savings. Each and every week, I discuss these things for you. So, number one, the first week we had the retire. We had the challenge. We had the 5 moves to retire challenge, all right? Where I talk about eliminating debt, compound interest, different tax strategies that each and every one of you can use, passive income, and then building the legacy. So that was the challenge that I had last week. I'm having another one February 23rd through the 27th that I want you to consider registering, okay? Now, we've talked about alternative assets. We've talked about growth, retirement funds. We've talked about real estate. Today, I have another guest. My guest today, and I'm going to introduce you to her shortly, is a realtor with Nebraska Realty. Her name is Giovy DeMiranda. Hi, Giovy. How are you?
Hi, Diva. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the Divas Tucson show so that we can talk about something very important that has come up. Now, Jovi, during my challenge, I talked a lot about real estate. And one of the areas that I've gotten the most questions on has been new home buyers. The new home buyers want to know more about how to get into a new home, what they need to do, and just different aspects of new home buying. And I know you're the expert on that. So I wanted you to come on and just tell me, first of all, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk new home buying.
Okay, well, my name is Giovy DeMiranda. I was raised in Nicaragua. I lived in Louisiana, and then I moved to Omaha almost 20 years ago now.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I know it's been a while. I got my license in 2021. I had a great known mentor in this area that has been a realtor for more than 20 something years, Ricardo Castro. And I've been blessed to be able to be trained among the best, including you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good, good, good. So talk a bit. I mean, we talk about building generational wealth. Talk to me some of the pain points for those of you out there that are looking to acquire real estate for building generational wealth. First and foremost, your own home. What do they need to do, Jovi? I mean, somebody comes to you and says, I want to buy a home. I mean, statistically,
Statistically, we have found lately because of the market and the interest, interests obviously are not what they were during the pandemic. The 3% is not something you find right now, but they seem to be fluctuating, getting a little bit more stabilized, in the last quarter to the beginning of this year.
mm-hmm.
The one thing that happens with new buyers, we have found that they're getting older as far as when they're getting into a new home. A lot of the younger generation are having a really hard time when it comes to understanding the process that it takes as far as you need to save, you need to build credit, you need to make sure that you have your ducks in a row. They're a generation that are used to the parents
Yeah.
taking care of a lot of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that has been challenging for many of them. With that said, what I would say with the new buyers, the first thing you have to do, especially with the market that we're finding right now, you really need to make sure that you go and get approved first. And of course, getting approved can look very different for many people. Sometimes you have people that are already ready with their taxes. Some people, they don't think that having medical bills can affect you, which they can. They don't think that having a lot of credit cards is going to make a difference, which of course it does because you have to have that debt to income ratio. And a lot of the institutions that we work with, as you know, have different requirements. So some of them might have a debt to income ratio lower than other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Some of
Okay.
them have
Okay.
a lower credit score. Some require a higher credit score. You know, some of them don't take into account certain things that you owe and other ones do. So it's very important to talk to the buyers, potential buyers, and actually the first thing would be, hey, let's get you paired up with one of our partners, lenders that you may feel comfortable with, or ones that we have experience dealing with, that just to talk to them, and they can
Mm-hmm.
advise you in the financial part because they would be the ones that would be taking all of the financial information that's needed, that you have to submit it, and then say, hey, you are in a good place. Maybe you need to work on doing this part, and then come visit us 3 months from now. Or you can get this done in a less amount of time.
Okay, so someone comes to you and you're saying that statistically they're older. I guess, would you say about 40? Or is that about 40 years old?
Yeah, lately we've been seeing a spike where 40 years old are the ones lately that are getting more into it, or maybe late 30s and things like that
Okay, okay,
when it comes to doing that.
okay. So they come to
We do
you.
have some,
Go ahead, I'm
we
sorry.
I have seen some that are like in their mid 20s and above that probably their parents already have a lot of experience with it. So they are working with them to say, hey, let's get you there. But we have seen that going to college and graduating, the average age has gotten much older
Mm,
as far as getting more solidified when it
okay.
comes to saying, okay, now I'm ready.
Okay, so for those of you out there that you're in your late 30s, going into your 40s, don't discount owning your own home. Regardless of the interest rate, don't marry the interest rate is what I always say. And but you're still gonna build some generational wealth with that home. It's still gonna appreciate in value. So it's best to seek that. But Jovi, what do you find when they come to you, new home buyers, okay, first time home buyers, they come to you and they describe the home of their dreams? What do you find happens?
What I find is that a lot of them come and say, I want the 2 floor type of layout with 3 cars, and out in West Omaha, all those other things, if they could a pool. And I just want to spend $250,000.
Okay.
And a lot of them, it's not that you cannot dream it. I mean, you could dream it and you could work on it, but you need to be a little bit more realistic in some of the areas that a lot of them are looking for. There's a lot of families that I've come across that want rooms to be super large, but they want to purchase an existing home, which probably might have been completed in the 80s, or 90s, where you it was customary to have a lot of rooms, but not necessarily large rooms. So what I find is I'll show them something that they brought to me. And as we walk it, we'll find out, oh, but wait, this is not really what I wanted. And through the process, they shift and they end up getting something that's totally different with what we started with, or located in a total different area that they
Yeah.
said I wasn't going to look there. Because you never know, when you walk in and then they're like, oh, wait, this can work. I really like this. So things change, but you have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
good thing is where they start, then you start building towards where they go.
Okay.
The most important thing that I tell them is the first house that you see is not necessarily the first one for you to get.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You really need to look around a little bit more. But I think that where it's been the most challenging is to explain to them to understand to a point that in the kind of environment we are right now, the first step should be to go get your financial approval done.
Okay. Okay.
Because a lot of them want to go look at houses and to get an idea, but have no idea where they at and if they are at a point right now to buy.
Right.
And I always tell them, even if the interest is what it is, owning is always better than renting.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and as you said, the value, it will appreciate. After 6 months, you can go, oh, wait, I already have this. So
Good.
it's worth it to try.
Right. Right. And then do you find that new home buyers buy within the first 5 homes you show them, or do they see more than 5 homes? I mean, in comparison to
They,
someone that has already had a home, they had a home, they sold it, and now they're looking. Are they going to look for less homes than the other side? I mean, I'm just curious.
I have found the ones that are new buyers and are starting, like really starting, is usually the first 5 to 10 homes,
Okay, okay,
you know, or less,
okay, okay.
compared to someone who has owned a home and really knows what they want as far as, you know what, I want to downsize. Or you
Yeah,
know what, I
yeah,
need to
yeah.
get a little something bigger because the family has grown.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, so and a lot of them already have teenagers. So if they have teenagers, it's important to them to have more garage space. Sometimes it's not as important to have bigger rooms as it is to have garage space because we know how it's really important to have a place where to put your cars.
Right,
You know,
right,
in some areas, using the street to park is no longer an option.
right, right.
So, there's changes in ordinance and things like that. So we see a lot of that.
Okay, okay. So do you find that they're more optimistic at 40 years old versus a 30-year-old? Or are they more
And
calmer
I
or?
find that I find the age is not as much as a roadblock as it is the idea of what it takes to buy.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
the idea. I mean, I myself have a young 33-year-old, and he started talking to me about, oh, I want to purchase a home. But when I started telling him, okay, let's find out where you are with your credit cards. Let's find out what you are with, let's go out to eat all the time, and that kind of stuff. And we just did like a rough number. And he just looked at me and said, oh, I just thought that because I make this much, yeah, I can get it. And I said, well, yeah, if you didn't have these things and if you don't change certain things,
Habits.
it would be a little bit more challenging,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
But I'm just speaking directly out of my experience with my own child,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then talking to some of his friends seems to be the same idea, you know? So I find it that more and more, once they start thinking, hey, yeah, this is what I got to do. This is what I got to change. Let me invest in this, and all of that is when they're getting more of an rounded mindset of what they can do. That's
Right.
not to say that there's not people out there that are in their late mid 20s to 30s that already know that because they plan that way.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
lately, that hasn't been my exposure.
Okay, okay. So when they come and they say they're looking for a home, you know that they're serious. You know they have their finances. For those of you out there that have a lot of debt, I encourage you to get your arms around that, to squeeze that, get that out of the way, so that you can be a homeowner, so that you can utilize that first home, your very first home. And everybody remembers their first and anything. So your very first home does not have to be the dream home. It could be the stepping stone to your dream home. I mean, I had many homes before I actually built the home that I wanted. So it's a stepping stone for home buyers. Now, another thing that I wanted to ask you about for home buyers is, are they aware? I mean, do you go through the whole process of this? Now you're going to own this home. Your closing date is such a date, and what they need to do moving forward. Because a lot of new home buyers don't know what they need to maintain this home.
Yes. What we do is usually I work really hand in hand with the partners that do the financing. And, and we also have partners for title companies. So we really do work hand in hand as far as communicating together and say, okay, now that you approve and you got that out of the way, which, our partners are really good at showing what your approximate closing cost is. So they have an idea of what they need to come up with. So they really know. Then we also know, depending on what program they're able to qualify to know how much they have to put down or not. Then we talk about, okay, so now let's go look at a home, depending how old the home is or concerns that they have because of what people telling them. We always recommend, hey, did you want to get an inspection done? So you can look at these things that you don't know, but there's also specialists that know how to do that, and let's look at that. And that way you have an idea. We talk about warranties, as you know, is negotiable if a seller is going to provide a warranty or if they're going to buy it themselves. And here is very common to do radon. Even though that's no longer covered by the seller, but it's something that we want to say to them, this is something you might want to consider, especially if you're planning on starting a family now, or if you have young children, things like that they're going to be down in the basement, things that they don't know because that's not what they do. So we talk about a lot of that, kind of like, I think that what makes a difference is there's a lot of realtors that sometimes, or a lot of buyers that think that, okay, I got an offer, I'm getting the home, I'm done. And they don't realize that we have to hold your hand. This is the first step. Let's go to the next step. Let's go to the next step, until you get down to the wonderful day of closing and you get your keys.
Right.
So,
Right.
they a lot of them don't understand or think about, wait, we have to put you in touch with an insurance agent so you can get insurance on the property because you need to have it before it becomes yours. They don't think about those things. And that's where, as realtor, that's where we come in.
Okay. Even utilities sometimes, I mean, they just don't know that the utilities
Exactly.
have to be put on their name, under their name before the day before closing so that when you close, it's yours.
Exactly. And I always like to use my purchase of not my first home, but my first home in Omaha, that the day that I closed, immediately our local gas company said, you have to meet us there because we have to do the first reading and we have to go inside the home. So we literally closed and we ran to the house because we were the last appointment for them to get there and do it.
Oh,
Things like that. And I always tell them, that happened to me and I never thought about it
right,
because it had been such a long time.
right,
And it wasn't here when I purchased my first home when
right.
that happened. I didn't even remember that part of the
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
So it's always fun, but it's incredible to walk them through the process because when you have a couple or an individual sees the home that they want, is like their face just lights up and you get to see, okay, that's really the one that they like compared to the other ones that they have seen.
Ah, okay,
And it's also important to point out that sometimes they want to see more and more, but a lot of the clients get confused that once you gave an offer in one, you need to stop looking, especially if they already accepted it. Because I've had some situations where they have put an offer on the home, they've gotten it, and then a couple more come out, and then they're like, I want to see this one, I want to see this one. And you have to say, no, you're kind of locked into this one, unless, we have to negotiate that you're pulling out. In a lot of cases, the money that you gave down, to show good faith that you were interested in purchasing that home, you might not get it back,
That's right.
especially if you're getting out of the
That's right.
transaction
Yeah.
just because you saw a new shiny object. This
Yeah,
is what
so
I call it.
you're absolutely right. So for those new homeowners, if you are going to be putting multiple offers, they have to have at least an expiration time of days so that hey, I put this offer, it's only good for 12 hours. After 12 hours, I could go out and look for something else. But more importantly, the new home buyer gets the home. Let's say they go to close. They did that whole process. pre-qualification, then during the process of the buying. Now it's after the day after closing. Do you sit with them during that process and explain to them the taxes? Because I know that you're also a tax person. So do you talk to them about what they're going, how much they're going to be able to save in terms of the taxes on their own?
When they ask me, I'll explain that to them.
Okay.
Because a lot of them already have their own tax advisor.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so you
Okay.
you want to say, okay, or ask your tax advisor. But yes, most of the time we do. A lot of them will say, well, what's the advantage? So we do get to talk and say, like in Nebraska, if you live in a certain county, you know, depending where your house is, what you pay for taxes, you can put it in your taxes, and you get that as a credit. You know, so we'll say things. You know, we'll talk to them about things like that. I've had questions where people say, "Hey, my parents or my grandparents want to gift me a electric car. How does that work with me having a house?" You know, and a lot of them will say, well, I heard that if I put solar paneling, I'm going to get this and that. So we always say, well, you have to look into that, because those type of credits change every year. And then you need to find out what are the exceptions, because as you know, some homes, if they're a certain age, that's not something that you get.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean because I put one panel, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
So yes, we do talk about that. We also talk about things like when their renewal is coming up, because you know, some of them get a little bit confused. When you become a homeowner, as you know, most lenders, you pay the whole year in advance for the taxes and for the insurance. And sometimes when they get a home, for example, in the middle of the year, they get confused with that. And they don't understand where the renewal or where everything happens.
Right.
So yes, we hold their hands, and I tend to talk to them or call them again. Hey, how's it going? You know, do you have any questions? As you know, Diva, they become part of your book of business, and sometimes in that, like, okay, thank you very much. Next, you know, you stay in touch and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
very important.
Yeah. I have clients that, you sell them a home, and then they start a family, and before you know it, they got all these kids, and you're like, wow, I can't. Now they need a bigger home and a bigger home. But yeah, you're absolutely
Yes.
right. More importantly, for those of you out there that are contemplating on buying your very first home, not only look at it as a process pre purchase, but even after, post purchase, because you should have a plan, because there are advantages in the tax code for new home buyers. There are advantages, and then also keep tabs and keep abreast, with your tax professional, because right now there's an exclusion if you lived in your home 2 out of the last 5 years and you're single. There's an amount that you can deduct, and you don't have to pay capital gains taxes. And if you're married as well, so you could be $250,000 or $500,000. You need to know that as a home buyer, because as a new home buyer, because you don't want to go into a situation where you don't want to sell because you think you're going to have to pay the taxes. And you may need to sell because you need a bigger home, or you may need to sell for a relocation or something like that. But no, new home buyers are dear to me as well. I'm so happy that Giovy DeMiranda. Jovi, how can they get a hold of you if they're looking to buy their very first home?
Well, you can reach me at 531-772-5943. You can reach out to Nebraska Realty, and you can see their agents, and in the page you can send message there, or you can always send me an email at Giovy, Giovy at nebraskarealty.com.
Oh, okay. So we'll put that in the chat for our viewers in case you're interested. Now, Jovi, you are licensed in the state of Nebraska, right?
Nebraska,
Okay.
yes.
So realtors are regulated and they have to be licensed in the state that you're going to look and buy your home. Because if it's a different state, Jovi can direct. She can refer you to another agent, but she won't necessarily be able to service you herself.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh,
I'm
this
also
is wonderful.
bilingual. I'm
Okay.
also bilingual, which is important, as we know that the bilingual is Spanish, as we know that the Spanish population is growing so much.
Okay. Okay.
So that helps also for those potential buyers that
Okay.
need
Okay.
these things explained in Spanish.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jovi. I greatly appreciate it. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave the audience about new first time home buying for building generational wealth? Is there anything you want to leave them with?
I would say don't be afraid to try to start the process of find out where you are, because I do have a lot of clients that have gone to meet with lenders, and they are really good about giving them a map to
Okay.
tell them exactly what they can work with, and what to change. And it might take them 5 months or 6 months, but at least they know where they are and they have a plan. So don't be afraid of going and talk to a lender to see how they can help you, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot get a home. It just means that maybe at this moment there's certain things you have to do to get there.
Yeah, yeah, and also quickly the grants, right? There might be a grant or so that one lender may give to new home buyers versus
Yes,
others.
yes.
So, yeah,
There are some lenders that, or credit unions that do apply for federal or national grants or state grants. And depending on your income and things, depending on that particular lender, you can go and apply, and they have a certain amount that they can give, for a certain area or for a certain size family. So you don't lose by trying. You
there you
really
go.
don't lose anything by trying.
There you go. If you don't own a home and you want to buy your very first home, Giovy DeMiranda will help you at Nebraska Realty. Jovi, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. I am so happy that we're able to talk about this. And again, I want to invite my entire audience to look out for in the chat. We're going to put Jovi's information, and we're also going to put the information for the 2 Moves to Retire 5-day challenge that's coming up in February. I invite you, please click below. And that, my friend, is Diva's 2 cents. Thank you so much,
Diva
my
two
friend.
cents.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.